In the gathering darkness of evening, Lu Shaoran finally returned home from work. Old Master Lu had called him at 11 a.m. to tell him that Lu Bachwan had woken up. He had been caught completely off guard by the sudden unexpected news. As Old Master Lu's only son, Lu Shaoran had lived an unsatisfactory life in the Lu family. When he was young, the person in power wasn't willing to give up his authority, and he had a father that didn't trust him. He held an empty title of vice director in the company. During those years, Lu Shaoran had lived uncomfortably. Whenever he suggested an investment idea and associated plan for it, it was always rejected. In his social circle, he had been a laughingstock for many years. After enduring this for a long time, his father finally retired. However, Old Master Lu had chosen to promote the promising youth, Lu Bachwan, to a position of power. On the day that Lu Bachwan was ushered into his new position, the grievances that Lu Shaoran had silently endured for many years suddenly erupted. Lu Shaoran clearly understood that with Lu Bachwan's abilities, he would never have another opportunity to advance as long as his son was around. He had plenty of sons, but there was only one Lu family. It was regrettable that the car accident hadn't been able to get rid of Lu Bachwan, but a comatose Lu Bachwan wasn't a threat to him. Since that time, Lu Shaoran had been thoroughly free of worries. However, he would have never expected that Lu Bachwan would wake up one day. Lu Shaoran accelerated the transfer of assets. After busily toiling away for long hours at the company, he finally returned home. In the dining room, Lu Bachwan was sitting in a wheelchair. Zhen had pushed the wheelchair over here until he was facing the dining table. Old Master Lu had been waiting in the head seat for a while. It was inevitable that his face would show unhappiness when he saw Lu Shaoran coming here late. "I called you before noon and told you to come home early today. Why did you only return home now?" "I was busy at work, so I came home late." Lu Shaoran took off his coat and handed it off to a servant that was standing by the side. He sat down next to Old Master Lu and looked at Lu Bachwan, who was across the table. In a solemn voice, he said, "You finally woke up. Work on getting better first. Everything else can be discussed later." Lu Bachwan nodded. His attitude was neither cold nor mild. "I understand. The relationship between this father and son Pa had always been like this. Everyone here was already used to it." With a happy face, Mother Lu kept adding food to Lu Bachwan's bowl and urging him, "You just woke up. Eat light foods. It'll be better for your body." On the side, Old Master Lu said, "I've asked the doctor. Although Bachwan can't stand up right now, he's more than able to deal with the company's affairs. If you can't handle the work, you can share some of the burden with Bachwan." Lu Shaoran was silent for a while before saying in a low voice, "Bachwan should work on getting better for now. Let's talk about this after he's recovered." Old Master Lu's intentions were too obvious. He would rather a handicapped person be in charge than hand the Lu family's company to him. "Oh, about that profile you gave me a few days ago, I found that person." Lu Shaoran was talking about the profile of Lin Zhan that Old Master Lu had previously given him. He had investigated the matter. In his group of illegitimate offspring, Lin Zhan could be considered the most capable one. He was sure that Old Master Lu had also investigated this matter too. Lu Shaoran had gained new understanding. As long as Lu Bachwan wasn't dead, he would be returning to the company. However, if a new potential successor appeared and that person was as capable of Lu Bachwan and had a sound body, how would Old Master Lu choose? Sure enough, Old Master Lu paused after hearing Lu Shaoran's words. In no time at all, this astute and circumspect person calculated the pros and cons. "Let's talk about this matter later." By not vetoing on the spot, it indicated that Old Master Lu was tempted. Although he had no confidence in controlling Lu Bachwan, how hard could it be to control a wet behind-the-ears youngster? Lu Bachwan didn't attach any importance to Lu Shaoran and Old Master Lu's conversation. He acted as if this had nothing to do with him and even leisurely added a piece of meat to Yi Zhen's bowl. Next to him, Yi Zhen was slowly eating her food. She politely reciprocated by adding a piece of meat to Lu Baichuan's bowl. She vaguely remembered the part in the novel where Lu Baichuan had designed a plan that ended with Lu Shaoran going to prison, so she wasn't surprised at all that the relationship between this pair of father and son was so strained. Oh, a child that grew up without his father's love was bound to grow up twisted. Thinking about it carefully, he was actually quite pitiful. Ching, Baichuan said that he was going to bring you back to your parents' home tomorrow. You can't go home with empty hands. After dinner, I'll show you the list of items I prepared for you to bring back. Yi Zhen awkwardly laughed. Thank you, Mom. No need to thank me. I'm only doing what I should. Before Lu Baichuan had woken up, Mother Lu hadn't been happy with seeing anyone. Once Lu Baichuan woke up, Mother Lu, though the sight of Yi Zhen was the most pleasing one of all. She thought that everything about Yi Zhen was good. And, when she saw that her son wasn't rejecting Yi Zhen, there really was nothing for her to be dissatisfied about anymore. After dinner, Old Master Lu and Lu Shaoran went to the study. Mother Lu pulled Yi Zhen over to look at the list of gifts. Yi Zhen felt her scalp tingling after taking one look at the list: wine, tea, and jewelry, as well as precious tonics. All of these items were top-notch. The cost of these items couldn't be cheap. Yi Zhen's eyes were dazzled. Mom, these items. They're too expensive. Not at all. I actually think it's too little. If the two of you hadn't decided on this visit so suddenly, how could I have only prepared these items? Just wait, once you and Baichuan set a date for the supplemental wedding ceremony, I'll have a proper chat with your parents. Don't worry, we definitely won't wrong you. I guarantee that you'll have a grand wedding ceremony to celebrate you joining the Lu family. No one will look down on you. After she finished saying this, Mother Lu sighed. Ching, when Baichuan hadn't woken up yet, I was in a bad mood and my temper was bad. The things I said, the things I did, don't take it to heart. In the future, you're the Lu family's daughter-in-law. Mom will only recognize you as my daughter-in-law. Yi Zhen obediently nodded. Thank you, Mom. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship that had troubled countless people since ancient times, was it really going to be resolved just like this? Compared to the attitude that Yi Zhen's own mother had towards her, Mother Lu's attitude was so much better. Tonight was going to be their first night together after Lu Baichuan had woken up. Yi Zhen didn't dare to wear her usual sexy spaghetti strap negligee to bed. Instead, she chose to wear conservative and ugly pajamas and lied down near the edge of the bed. There was plenty of space between her and Lu Baichuan. Seeing her guarded look, Lu Baichuan didn't say anything. But, in the middle of the night, a pair of cold hands reached over. Yi Zhen was a restless sleeper. She rolled from the edge of the bed to the center. She was especially unsatisfied with the cold bed. Her brow was furrowed in her sleep. When her hands finally reached Lu Baichuan, who felt like a great furnace, her hands and feet wrapped around him. Yi Zhen had wrapped her arms around Lu Baichuan's chest and his waist was sandwiched between her legs. To keep warm, she hung off of him like a koala. Just like in the past, he helplessly pulled up the quilts so that she was covered up again. To prevent her from rolling around and getting cold again, he wrapped one arm around her and went to sleep. Early next morning, Yi Zhen was woken up. Nearby, Lu Baichuan had already woken up earlier than her and washed up. He was neatly dressed, sitting in his wheelchair, and putting on his tie. When the author was creating the villain, she shouldn't have given the villain a handsome face. The image of him sitting in his wheelchair and looping the tie around his neck while immersed in the sun's golden light struck Yi Zhen's youthful heart in a flash. As soon as she thought of this man's bleak ending, Yi Zhen felt her sympathy being stirred up. She really shouldn't be feeling this way. But, it would be such a pity if this handsome man died. Perhaps, Yi Zhen's gaze was too conspicuous. When Baichuan looked over at her, his hands stopped moving. Do you know how to tie a tie knot? I do. Lu Bachwan took the tie off his neck and offered it to her. Come here. Yi Zhen rubbed her messy hair and got out of bed. She leaned over, tucked the tie underneath his collar, and skillfully started knotting the tie for him. They were very close to each other. Yi Zhen could even smell a refreshing scent coming from Lu Bachwan's body. This unexpectedly caused Yi Zhen's breathing to suddenly become erratic. Her heartbeat quickened too. Strangely, although he was clearly neatly dressed in a suit, Yi Zhen thought of the naked Lu Bachwan in her countless dreams. With a body like that, such strong muscles, and such a burning hot temperature, it was surprising that this man, who practiced self-restraint, could act so wild in her dreams. Yi Zhen's gaze went downward. She stared at his Adam's apple, and her cheeks suddenly felt as if they were scalded. She hastily finished tying the knot for Lu Bachwan, then guilty escaped to the bathroom. Looking at her face in the mirror, which was as red as a monkey's ass, she felt extremely vexed. It was so early in the morning, and he was already seducing her. It could be seen that men were rotten creatures. After dilly-dallying with washing up, Yi Zhen went downstairs. Lu Bachwan was already waiting in the car for her. Mother Yi had put the numerous gifts in the car that was following behind the first car. She said a few more enjoining words, and Yi Zhen assented to everything. The distance between the two villas wasn't far. It only took half an hour for them to arrive at their destination. A man, who was dressed in a suit, came out from the following car and opened the car door for Yi Zhen. By the time that Yi Zhen got out of the car and turned her head to look, Lu Bachwan was already sitting in his wheelchair. Whether it was getting into or out of the car, Yi Zhen hadn't seen how Lu Bachwan had moved between the car seat and the wheelchair. Ching ching, you're back. Father Yi and Mother Yi had been waiting here since early morning, especially Father Yi. As soon as he saw them getting out of the car, he immediately came forward. He leaned over to stretch his hand out towards Lu Bachwan. Smiling, he greeted, Mr. Lu. It was inevitable that this would look sycophantic. Lu Bachwan shook Father Yi's hand. Just call me Bachwan. The Yi family only had a small company, and they had almost gone bankrupt. It was the Lu family that had expended a tiny bit of effort and rescued the Yi family from ruin. Not to mention, the purpose of Lu Bachwan and Yi Zhen's marriage was in hopes that the good luck from their marriage would awaken Lu Bachwan. The two families didn't have matching social status or any underlying affection for each other. Although Father Yi didn't have a head for managing a business, he still had the brains to handle assigned work. He didn't have the guts to consider himself as Lu Bachwan's father-in-law. He replied, "Oh, I wouldn't dare to." The group of people entered the villa. It was still early in the day, and they idly made small talk in the living room for a while. The Lu family's chauffeur and other servants brought inside the Lu family's gifts. Once they were done, the heaping pile of gifts resembled a small mountain. Father Yi smiled. Mrs. Lu is so courteous. Since coming inside, Lu Bachwan had been holding Yi Zhen's hand the entire time. He smiled too. It's only what should be done. I hope that you don't mind that because of health reasons I wasn't able to promptly come here with Ching Ching after we were married. Father Yi felt overwhelmed with favor from these words. Lu Bachwan's sincere attitude as well as the way he looked at Yi Zhen, how can there be no feelings between the couple? He looked at his wife, who was sitting by his side and showing a waning interest, and secretly tugged her sleeve to remind her. Well, since this is Mrs. Lu's good intentions, I'll humbly accept this. Mother Yi had been frowning ever since Yi Zhen came inside. She was preoccupied with worried thoughts, so how could she have possibly paid attention to Lu Bachwan's words? She reluctantly smiled and looked at the pile of expensive gifts. She felt even more upset. If Yi King had obediently listened to her words back then and married Lu Bachwan, Yi King would be the one grandly returning home. That child really caused her to worry. She gave up on the chance to enjoy the good fortune of being Mrs. Lu and stubbornly ran off with a poor youngster to bear hardships with him. Yi Zhen knew that Mother Yi didn't like her. Yi Zhen had a cowardly disposition, was inarticulate, and had mediocre abilities. In contrast, Yi King was lively, cheerful, strong-minded and knew how to make people laugh and have a great time. It wasn't just Mother Yi that disliked Yi Zhen, the other members of the Yi family and their family friends weren't fond of her either. The main reason was that she wasn't good at pleasing other people and gaining their favor. During New Year, a smiling Yi King would act cutely spoiled and request red envelopes from all the adults in their extended family in a sweet voice. In contrast, Yi Zhen would only helplessly stand at the side with a blushing face. Even after faltering trying to speak for a while, she couldn't say a single flattering word. Thus, when the Yi family's twin daughters were mentioned, many people would have plenty of praise for Yi King, but could only awkwardly smile for Yi Zhen. They couldn't find any words to praise her. Under these circumstances, it was only natural that Mother Yi would feel differently about her two daughters. She liked the capable and outstanding Yi King, and all of her energy was spent on her. Yi King was her pride and joy. In the long run, it was inevitable that she would favor one daughter and discriminate against the other one. Perhaps, a mother should value her daughters equally in theory, so why couldn't she treat both of them fairly? However, back when Mother Yi had been giving birth in the hospital, Yi King's birth had gone smoothly while Yi Zhen's birth had almost cost Mother Yi her life. Because of this matter, Mother Yi had never held or hugged Yi Zhen. Every time that she saw Yi Zhen, she would be reminded of being on the operating table and one step away from the gates of the underworld. If she could choose again, she would definitely choose to risk her life again to give birth to Yi Zhen, but at the same time, she wouldn't shower Yi Zhen with much love. It was as if Yi Zhen had consumed all of her maternal love for her on that operating table 22 years ago. After they politely chatted for a bit, they ate the lunch that the Yi family's servants had meticulously prepared. Wine had been prepared, but Lu Baichuan's health was poor, so the bottle of wine was completely drunk by Father Lu. After drinking so much alcohol, he ended up drunkenly calling out, "Dear son-in-law," a few times and doggedly pulled Lu Baichuan to his study. Lu Baichuan had showed good manners and a good temperament during the visit to the Yi family's home. He was neither servile nor overbearing, had a sense of propriety, and was extremely polite. In comparison, Father Yi seemed like an extremely discourteous nouveau riche. Actually, it wasn't that he seemed like one. The Yi family really was the nouveau riche. Father Yi had inherited his family's coal mine in his youth. After earning profits from his first economic endeavor, he went to a prosperous big city and prepared to make a name for himself. However, after tossing in his family's entire wealth, he didn't even make a splash. After many years of tepid results, he had slowly consumed the family's wealth. Just as the Yi family was about to go bankrupt and be homeless once their villa was taken back by the bank to sell off to pay their debts, Old Master Lu found Father Yi and saved the Yi family by pouring in capital funds to their company. Right now, the company was hanging on the Lu family's breath. If they didn't have their help, the Yi family would really fall to bankruptcy. Lu Baichuan was pulled into the study by Father Yi, and Yi Zhen was brought to a bedroom by Mother Yi. Fine clothes make the man, and gold make Buddha statues. The current Yi Zhen was different from the past Yi Zhen. She was dressed in expensive clothes and jewelry. She held her head high and had an out-of-ordinary bearing. Her speech and mannerism was poised and confident. When she was walking by Lu Baichuan's side, she really did give off the impression of being a suitable Mrs. Lu. It was as if she had been reborn. Mother Yi scrutinized Yi Zhen. Obviously, a mother should feel proud when her daughter had become outstanding, but in Mother Yi's eyes, this new Yi Zhen was a bit of an eyesore. Mother Yi thought that if it was Yi King that had the status of Mrs. Lu, she would be even more outstanding. "Mom, why did you ask me to come here?" Mother Yi pushed down the grief in her heart and mustered up a smile. "It's been a month since you married into the Lu family. Mom just wants to know if you've been living well in the Lu family." Yi Zhen perfunctorily answered, "It's been all right. Lu Bachwan brought you over here to pay a visit the morning after he woke up. I can easily tell that Mrs. Lu had prepared those gifts with great care. The Lu family must place a great importance on you. Zhen, can you do this for me? Talk with Lu Bachwan and have him help you look for Yi King. Once Mother Yi mentioned Yi King, she sighed. That child has been gone for a month, and there's no news of her. I added money to her bank account, but she hasn't touched it at all. I'm guessing that she doesn't want me to find her. But, she's been spoiled and pampered her entire life. She's never had to suffer. How could she live without money? There's a limit to the people that your dad and I know, so we haven't been able to find her. The Lu family has many connections. Perhaps, they might have a way to find her. Yi Zhen had listened to this one-sided conversation in silence. I'm not asking for anything else. If she likes him, that's okay. As long as she comes back, I'll agree to her marriage with that man. But, what can I do when there's no news of her at all? Zhen, after you go back, talk to Lu Bachwan. Have him think of something. Can you do that? Logically, it would be more beneficial to Yi Zhen if Yi King returned. After all, the sooner Yi King came back, the sooner Yi Zhen would be able to extricate herself. Right now, Lu Bachwan, this great villain, wasn't doing any wicked deeds, but that was only because he hadn't regained mobility in his legs yet. Once he was fully recovered, who knows how he would torment other people. The first person that would bear the brunt of his attack was his father. As the villain's wife, she worried that her ending wouldn't be good either. However, Yi Zhen felt a chill in her heart from hearing Mother Yi's words. Her favoritism was too blatant. Back then, they had selfishly delivered Yi Zhen to the Lu family without giving her a choice. They had never given thought to their younger daughter's well-being or cared about how the daughter would be treated in the Lu family. Mother Yi's thoughts were only on her older daughter, who had run off with a man. If Mother Yi had called Yi Zhen just once after she had married into the Lu family to say a few words of comfort, her heart wouldn't feel so cold right now. Mom, you've only seen how it looks on the surface. In the past, my life at the Lu family's home. Mrs. Lu actually doesn't like me very much. She feels that our family's social status doesn't match theirs. A family like the Lu family, how could they care about me? Yi Zhen cleverly used the words, in the past. Mother Yi furrowed her brow. But I saw how carefully Lu Bachwan treats you. Since he came inside, he was holding your hand the entire time, and he added food to your bowl too. A few years ago, I saw him once. At that time, he didn't treat the woman by his side as meticulously as he treats you. Yi Zhen sighed. Mom, do you really think someone like Lu Bachwan would like a wife that was married to him without consent? He only recently woke up too. Naive. Way too naive. She didn't know what Lu Bachwan's intentions were, but she was sure that this ruthless and heartless great villain was using her to execute a major plot. A wife was just a pawn to him. Then, just mention it. The Lu family wouldn't brusquely refuse you. It's only looking for a person. Only looking for a person. If you really think it's that easy to find a person, then why haven't you found her yourself? Besides, older sister deliberately ran off with someone. Rather than covertly trying to find her, why don't you just put an advertisement? Just say that you agree to her marrying that man. Once they see the advertisement, they'll come back. No, Mother Yi sternly said, how can I do that? If word gets out about this, how will your older sister live? How do you want me to continue living in the Lu family if they find out about this? Hearing these words, Mother Yi blankly stared at her. Her younger daughter, who had been diffident since childhood, had glibly talked back to her. Feeling incredulous, anger surged up from the bottom of Mother Yi's heart.